Since my TikTok account is about food, but I love to read and really want to be a book talker, I'm going to share with you my favorite reads of 2023 and the foods I would eat while reading them. I loved this book, Babel. R.F. Kuang has to be a genius to write this book. I can't even conceive of how she could possibly put this together. This is a book about language, but it's also a book about colonialism and who has the right to education and who has knowledge, but when is it considered higher education that's worthy of the world. It's also how colonialism robs from non-white communities and just does whatever it wants with it. I thought this was really interesting later in the year in light of Claudine Gay having to step down from Harvard. And I think somebody smarter than me should do a deep dive into the parallels of that. Oh, so with this book, they really disparage Chinese culture and art. And so I would love to eat the most stupid, expensive, beautifully made Chinese food that I could find, just because Chinese food always gets considered cheap or unhealthy, and that's not really true at all. So I would like to pay an obscene amount of money for some beautiful, beautiful Chinese food just to prove that it's worth it. Next, I went on a plague kick. So I read Year of Wonders by Geraldine Brooks, which was fantastic. I love all of her books. She's a wonderful writer. And I don't know, why do I like reading about the plague? Next, I read Hamnet, which, just like Year of Wonders, is captioned a novel of the plague. So funny to me. I read these back to back without realizing it. Hamnet is about Shakespeare's family, and a lot of it is based in some truth. We actually don't know that much about him, but Hamnet is Hamlet. And this book was heartbreaking. It's about moms. It's about the Middle Ages. It's about, once again, I think you're going to notice a theme in all the books that I read. It's about how men get to just run away from home and pursue their dreams, and, you know, women are left sort of holding the bag. But it's a story about an outcast who's actually just misunderstood and very beautiful. I really loved this book. It took me a while to get to it after seeing a lot of hype. But with Hamnet, what I would like to eat is honey. So in the book, she's a beekeeper, and that's a little controversial, but I would like to eat like a dripping honeycomb right fresh from the hive while I read this book. There's not a lot of food in Year of Wonders, but there's a lot of gardening, even though it's a lot of herbs and medicinal stuff, but it made me miss my garden. So I'd like to eat a really homegrown, super fresh garden cucumber while I read Year of Wonders. Next is Olga Dies Dreaming. I really hope you read this book. This book is wonderful. It's about a Puerto Rican family and their feelings on Puerto Rico and assimilating into American culture, mainland American culture, and how mainland America perceives Puerto Rico and really doesn't give it a fair shot, and how they really just use them to their advantage and then throw them under the bus whenever possible. I think I've seen that is true. I think we've all seen that's true during hurricanes and things like that. Olga is a modern young woman trying to make it in the world. She's a wedding planner, so I thought that was very interesting. Made a lot of sense to me as a former personal chef. But as I was reading about the beautiful island of Puerto Rico and culture and food, I thought of my friend Cooking Con Omi. She's a Puerto Rican chef who's pretty darn famous nowadays, and I would eat anything Omi wants to cook for me if I were lucky enough to be dining with Omi. I listened to the Britney Spears book. Britney Spears is exactly 2 days younger than me, and I grew up with Britney Spears, so I was really fascinated by this book and what happened and what's going on Instagram and all of that. I was enraged after reading this book at everybody's take that this book is some sort of expose about Justin Timberlake. Whatever about Justin Timberlake, it's so missing the point of this book. What Kevin Federline and Britney's dad and family did to her is absolutely outrageous. It is the type of story that I thought hasn't happened since the early 1900s, when women are being institutionalized for being hysterical and literally given laudanum or opium to calm down. Her children were stolen from her. This book, it wasn't a great book. It was way too long. Even listening to it, it was like boring and repetitive in parts. But the story of what happened here is insane. And the media take that this is somehow a commentary on Justin Timberlake is missing the point. It is sort of like Ryan getting nominated for an Oscar and Margot and Greta being overlooked. You have missed the point of what is being told to you. So I was too angry to eat during this book, but considering I've never been to New Orleans, I would maybe make a muffaletta sandwich. I used to make those. They're really good. So let's have some New Orleans food. And my God, if anyone else mentions Justin Timberlake in this book one more time, stop. You're missing the point. This book is about a mom who was institutionalized against her will and had her children stolen from her. And it happened to the most famous person in America. And we all just sat here and watched it. And whew, it's not okay. Anyway, on to 2024. What are you reading?